So the more I got to working with goats and the more I got to learning about them, they're the second easiest meat to digest behind lamb. Okay. They are one of the most nutrient dense meats. They're one of the highest in iron and highest in your other minerals.
I will tell you, I know what I remember, and that was the fact that there's two livestock you can raise that are sustainable on a homestead or on a property. One of those is chickens, and one of those was goats.
Yes, they are the two most sustainable in there because they forage for themselves so well. Okay, and you know, if you let those of you that have raised chickens or ever eaten any chickens, if you eat a cage raised or a farm raised chicken, they don't taste as well as one that's been raised out there on the pasture, that's been able to forage and graze for itself. Not only is that the taste difference, but you're going to have a richer vitamin, a more nutritious meat, because that animal is foraging and looking for what the creator is providing it to eat. Now, you may have some chicken pellets, and I do. I've got chicken pellets and stuff in there. You know, it's a self-feeder. But you open the door to my chicken coop, and my chickens are flying out. You know, they're hunting for bugs, and they're hunting for scratchings and everything, okay? They would rather eat outside than they had inside, okay? Right. So you're going to get a more nutritious meat that way. Okay, and chickens are fairly easy animal to raise. Okay, right. I call them the gateway animal to a homestead, because everybody starts off raising chickens. Okay,
I did that myself, working on a chicken tractor.
I've raised on a farm, guys. I've raised just about everything. I've raised rabbits, I've raised pigs, I've raised cattle, I've raised horses, I've raised llamas. You just name it, I've probably raised it. Okay. Right. I've raised sheep, and I like sheep, and there's certain ground that sheep's really good for. Okay. But where I live in Oklahoma, you know, I live in the Osage Hills. We got a lot of scrub brush. We got a lot of weeds and woody plants and things like that. Well, that's what goats love.
Right.
And so we started raising goats. We had goats on the place, maybe to help clean up.
Right.
And so, yeah, they're awesome. I mean, I've even got pictures of where we had hot wire fence and had the goats, and a wildfire came through and stopped at the hot wire fence because of the grazing that the goats had. They didn't graze it down to bare ground.
Right.
But they had taken and eaten the leaves off the ground. They like those, you know. There was green grass there, but they're used a lot too in fire control. So the more I got to working with goats and the more I got to learning about them, they're the second easiest meat to digest behind lamb. Okay. They are one of the most nutrient dense meats. They're one of the highest in iron and highest in your other minerals. So that's one of the things that moved me over to it, because I eat a lot of deer. I love deer meat, and because it's a much healthier meat. It's a much cleaner meat. The beef that I eat is all grass raised, okay? And so goats just happen to fall right in there great for me, because it's a more heart healthy. They're just not as much fat in it. Now you got to cook it a little bit different, okay?
Right.
You can't cook it hard and fast. You got to cook it low and slow.
Right.
But it's so much easier. You know, if I was raising cattle and I had a 1,200-pound steer, guys, I don't have the facility to be able to process a steer like that.
And most people don't, I think.
No, they don't. But, you know, I can process a goat pretty easy and pretty quick.
Right.
And I can keep enough of it, you know, in a refrigerator if I got it, or in a cold box or something like that, enough till we've eaten that whole animal.
Right.
You know, if I had to can the meat for a 1,200-pound steer, that meat would go bad before I could get it all canned.
Right.
But if I'm canning a goat, I can get that done. Okay. Right. So it just made sense to me to do that. So I looked at different breeds. I researched a lot. I looked at the Spanish. I looked at the Kiko. I looked at the Boer. I looked at Savannahs. I looked at crosses between those breeds. I looked at the Tennessee meat goat. I looked at the Tex Master. And what I actually started off with, and I tell everybody else, don't go buy $100 goats if you can find them. Okay, it's hard to find now, but don't go buy $1,000 goat because there's going to be a learning curve.
Right.
Okay? You're just going to have to learn. So it's a lot easier to lose $100 goat than it is $1,000 goat. Okay.
Sure.
So, buy some and then start building up your breeding stock. And that's what we did. We started off with Boer Kiko cross. Okay. I've had full blood Boers. I don't want the Boer people mad at me, but I'm sorry. They have too much problem with parasites, too many feet problems. I got to trim their feet too many times. I had 2 full blood Boers on my place that I was using in our breeding program. And I lost one of those does this year, barber pole worms. I couldn't get her over it. And I think I'm pretty good at that. And you look at the rest of my Tex Master does out there, my Tex Master cross does, and they were fat and sassy. Nothing wrong with them. They're just so much more parasite resistant. And you got to think, how much input do you want to put into these animals? The least amount of input, the more profit.
Right.
Plus, the Tex Master's actually a combination over several generations of a Tennessee meat goat and a Boer. And with the right breedings, I do not know. As far as I know, there's only 2 people in the United States that know that formula. The lady that actually started the breed and the lady that worked with her, which is my mentor, Pat Cotton. And Pat hasn't told me that breed, that combination, and I'm not going to ask because I'm not there yet. When she decides she wants to tell me, she'll tell me. Okay, I don't know. All right. But we have found, because of the genetics and what they've done with this, there is a 4-to-1 muscle to bone ratio.
And that's huge.
Yes. I can take my Tex Masters to processing, and I will get 36 to 40% of live weight packaged out, deboned.
Right. And I know that you don't get that at rate at much else.
Well, cattle's 30, 33 on good cattle. Right. Okay. And I run the numbers. I mean, I know. I mean, I weigh mine a day after they're born. I either get a 60 or a 90-day weight. I get a 120-day weight. I get a weaning weight. I get a weight when they go to processing, before they go across, the slaughterhouse. Once they're hanging on the rail and once they're packaged, I know my numbers all the way through. And they have proven better. And I can tell you, those that have more Tex Master influence, I have a lot more meat. Those that have some of the other influence more, the carcass doesn't yield as well. Okay. So from a homesteading perspective, you're not eating a lot of bone. Now, you can make bone broth and things like that, but you're not eating a lot of bone. You're eating muscle, and that's what you want to produce. And so that's what we do. I enjoy them. Now, I would also caution people, make sure you got good fences.
Yes. Good fences.
Okay. Oh, good fences. I thought you said dentures.
Fences. Make sure you got good fences because goats are smart. When I first got the place, I had some holes in some fences, and they would go through one particular hole until I found it.
Right.
Once I found it and fixed it, then they would move to another one. I find it and fix it, then they'd move to a third one. They wouldn't go through all 3 of them and let me find them.
Right.
They were like, I'm not telling you about the rest of those holes. We're just going to use this one till you figure it out. So they're extremely smart. Okay?
Right.
But that's part of that rolls back into my health thing. If I can eat a more nutritious, more healthy meat, that's going to help my body. And I'm going to have a better immune system out of that.
Right.
Plus homesteading, it just makes sense.
Right.
They're going to eat what other animals want.
How much land would you have to raise a meat goat as compared to a cow or a steer?
Generally, the rule of thumb is you can raise 5 goats to what you can raise 1 cow.
And
So
how does that compare dollar and cents wise when it comes to your actual cost for putting food on the table?
I'm going to make more money on goats than people are going to make on cattle.
Right.
Because just think about this. If a mama's going to produce, most mothers are going to produce you at least twins. Okay. You'll have some singles. Okay. And if I've got 5 goats, let's say 5 goats, because 5 to 1, I got 5 goats, I'm going to have 10 babies.
Right.
Okay. And I want to sell that goat at, where's my phone at here? I didn't make sure I can run these numbers off the top of my head here. Let's just say I get $3 a pound times 90 pounds. That's $270. Okay.
Right.
And that dough, will provide me 1.8 of that, times 1.8. So she's provided me, what's that? $540. Okay. At a sale.
Right.
It's going to, let's just say $500, and it's going to cost me about in hay and feed and everything else. And because I'm putting feed into them now to produce more quality. She's
Right.
cost me around $250. Okay. So I'm going to make about $250 per head profit on that times 5. That's about $1,250. You can't raise a calf out on a cow for that.
No.
Now, right now, cattle prices are high. You might do it right now. Cattle prices are really high. But normally, no. I got to have better fences than I do for cattle. I can't run goats on barbed wire. Okay?
Right.
But I don't have to have the expensive infrastructure that you have to raise cattle to work them.
Right.
They're so much easier to work. You can work them by hand. Now, I've got a little squeeze chute, things like that. But, right now I've got 90 head on the place.
Right. Yeah, that's quite a bit of herd there.
So what would you say to people who says, as opposed to buying it in a grocery store, my meat products, compare and contrast the cost of buying something, say, from a larger retail outlet as to what it would cost for you to raise it and put it on your table? Is it cheaper or just healthier?
It depends on where you want to quantify cheap. See, I look at it this way: we either pay for our health now, or we pay for our health later.
Right. Okay.
Makes sense. Right.
That's just like, if you don't want to eat goat meat, that's fine. But I'm going to work with some farmer rancher out there that you can buy good quality. You see how they feed them, everything else. It's going to be cheaper than you go buy it in the store. And it's also going to be so much more better for you than what you're going to get going. Guys, I know what we did on the commercial side. I worked on that side. I know how much hormone we gave them cattle to get them up there. If they didn't care, just run them on. I know how much antibiotics they put in those things. Okay.
Right.
You're eating all that.
Right there it is, folks. You got it firsthand from somebody who's actually been in that commercial side of things and have seen what happens.
Right. And it goes back to what say, you are what you eat.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Let your food be your medicine. And I really take your point with you can pay now or pay later.
Absolutely.
And when we say pay later, obviously, we're talking about, if you eat unhealthy, you'll be unhealthy, and the doctor bills will probably be a whole lot more expensive.
So say than the food was if you'd have just done it right the first time. Yeah, it's I've wanted to get in. I mean, goats are a part of my plan because I don't have the acreage to run cattle, and as well as having worked in the poultry business currently, and having worked around the cattle, transporting and taking them, picking them up, doing those type of things. Being in the cattle business a little bit. As you said, the cost and profitability margins are razor thin in both of those, actually. And commercial poultry is a razor thin margin. The goat, to me, because of, like I said, it's a little higher now because it seems it's more popular, but it's still a lower cost entry a lot of times than other herd animals like that. Now I've lost $150 buck. Me and my son-in-law went in. It was either somebody got him a buck, or coyote got food. One of the two happened. I'm not sure, but did not know they are a social creature, and you don't just buy one; you buy a pair. And we bought one and put it in a pen, and I learned that it doesn't matter how good the fence is; they will find a way. Yeah, right. And we lost
you're just talking about that's an expensive lesson. Let me just share this with everyone, because I learned about a $10,000 lesson this last year.
Oh, ouch! Oh, Ethel.
Yeah, I killed my number one buck, probably the second best Tex Master buck in the United States.
Uh-oh.
Okay. And a lot of us have been doing this for years. But he'd got sick the year before. The vets couldn't figure anything out. I mean, like $2,000 in vet bills, couldn't figure it out. I finally got him over it. He was doing great. And then he got sick about the same time again the next year. And he did recover that time. Right. And we had expert goat vets trying to figure this thing out. I mean, experts from all over the United States. I finally figured it out. When I went back to looking at all my notes and when I wormed and worked and all that stuff, and I had given him orally as a drench, I'd given him pour-on wormer. We do that a lot. Right. But his system wouldn't handle it. And essentially, I cooked him chemically from his mouth to his rear, and I shut his organs down.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Right. Very expensive lesson.
Yes. So, there's some things you learn. Even where I'm at right now, there's some things you learn. The further up the flagpole, them lessons get more expensive.
Right.
And so I wished it hadn't happened, but it happened. So you know what? I learned it. Right. I'm trying to tell everybody about it right now. If you do it, beware.
Right.
I lost an outstanding buck. You guys were at the Okie Homestead conference.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see the big buck that I had in the pen there at our booth? Big muscle son of a gun. He was a half brother to my buck.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I get amazed. I've got a guy that I know that has a herd of goats, and I think he's got La Manchas is what he has. But I told him everything. But his buck. Now, I remember when he got him, it was a buck and he had a handful of does. He's got a nice herd right now. But that buck is huge and very protective of his herd. My friend has very little work to actually do. That buck tends to take care of business all the way around, but it is impressive how big and strong they can get.
Yeah. Now that's one thing I like about the Tex Masters. I've been in other herds and I've had other bucks that when those does are in heat, boy, you don't want to get around that because that buck, he'll get you. That's his girls,
Yeah.
These Tex Masters, they're so laid back. They don't care. You can walk up and grab a hold of him. Now you probably don't want to hold him long because he's been peeing on himself and stinky, because they put that cologne on, but they're so laid back. I love that about them. I won't have a mean one on my place. It's too risky,
Right.
But I got to get rid of about 20 of them right now. My wife she's put her foot down.
Uh-oh.
She said, you got 20 females, you're going to need to find another home for. She said, we're feeding too many.
So what is good eating weight?
I like 90 pounds.
90 pounds is a good eating weight. How long does it take to get them there?
Oh, anywhere from, some of them might reach that at 9 or 10 months. Some of them are 12 to 14.
Okay.
Depends on the breeds too. But a 90 pound goat here that's got a lot of bone versus a 90 pound goat that has a 4-to-1 muscle to bone ratio. There's a lot of difference in what you get out of it.
Right.
So you got to think about that. But the market likes them about 65 or 70.
Right.
Now, a lot of that market's changing, but I have found that you got about the same amount of bone, about the same amount of skin, about the same amount of internal organs at 65 pounds as you do at 90.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between 65 and 90 is pretty much muscle.
Right. And that's
So I'm going to feed them a little longer, and I'm going to get more meat out of this deal.
I see. And hypothetically, or not so hypothetically, if an individual, say, like me, or how would they say it in psychology? A friend I know.
Asking for a friend. Asking for a friend.
Yep. Okay.
If he wasn't into raising that, but you were raising it, would it be profitable for that individual, not just financially, but I mean also health wise, to purchase from somebody else already ready, and they just take it and have it processed?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I did that for a long time. A lot of people would come and buy animals off the farm. A lot of other people do that. Or, I might even carry them to the processor for them. Now they have to go pick them up and pay for the processing, but as a service, a lot of times I would pay them to do that. We now have our own USDA meat company, and we're in a lot of the farm hub stores and things like that.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
Right. I think I've seen some of that on your channel.
Yeah. And we'll have some of this meat. We'll have this meat up in Missouri, and we'll have it down in McAllister. We'll have a freezer there, and we'll have.
There you go. There we go. You get a chance to get some right there. I know I've had it. Like I said, we shared, when we were talking the other day, I've had it several different ways, from barbecue and smoked and curry and a lot of different ways. And I really enjoy the goat meat myself. I mean,
we make 4 flavors of broths.
Oh, okay. 4 flavors of broth. Okay. Even better.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Besides all the other cuts. Yeah.
Right. It is a different way of cooking. You got to relearn how to cook them, but man, it's tasty. I know that. So, I love it on barbecue myself, but
yes. It's my favorite though is if you let me have my way, I'm gonna cook a whole goat,
right?
And I'm gonna cook it in a pit in the ground.
Oh, right, yes.
That's the way I'm gonna cook it.
There you
go. But that takes a lot of time and effort. I don't have a lot of time to do that.
Right. Well, just a question. I mean, without ballpark range. For a person to get into, say, like the Tex Master, what kind of, I know you said to go with like $100 one to learn, go with a cheaper breed to learn, and I'm taking that to heart because I need to learn. But when somebody's looking to get into it, whether it's for their own personal meat or if they're looking into a profitability factor, what kind of numbers, I guess, would somebody need to be looking at?
Well, if you're just going to raise one to take the processing yourself, those are going to be cheaper because that's a terminal animal. They're going to freezer camp. Okay.
Right.
If you're buying a breeding stock, that animal's probably going to run anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to $1,500 for a female, depending on if she's got registered or papered, how much, if she's 50% or 75%. Or the quality of her. Okay.
Right.
It's if people come to my farm, I price my animals by their quality.
Right.
And if I've got some that may have papers that you can get papers on. But she's going to sell cheaper if I don't like her. She's going to sell cheaper, so you're not going to get papers.
Right. I get it.
Because I'm just telling you, she's a grade commercial.
Right.
Okay. But if she's really good, now if I have two outstanding individuals, and one you can follow the paper trail and ancestry on, and one you can't, the one you can follow the paper trail is always going to bring more money just because you can follow that ancestry.
I see.
A buck is going to run you probably a good buck. A good buck can run you anywhere from $1,500 to, I've seen people's bucks $30,000, $40,000 for show bucks.
Right.
I got sent pictures the other day. I sold a little old buck. He was a 50% Tex Master buck. He was a good little son of a gun. and he went up north to a weather breeding program. And they sent me pictures the other day. This little buck, he was born March the 29th. And he went in for the final drive of Grand Champion.
Wow.
I mean, you're talking 4 months old. And she
Right.
said
Wow.
he got beat because there was older bucks, older weathers in there. But he got beat. She sent me pictures. I was pretty excited about how my buck passed his genetics on.
Right.
You
That's
know?
a good deal.
And they were real excited. They've kept some females out of him and stuff. So,
Right.
you know, that doesn't hurt the advertising.
No, not at all. Marketing side is real good there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said, I know there's breeds that people can get into at a lower price when they're starting out. You know, whether that's whether that's Boer or that's Kiko or I don't know. You know, the different ones. I know like some are milk and some are more meat oriented. You know, and so
if I was going to run a straight commercial operation, I would probably run a Boer Kiko cross doe and a Tex Master buck. That would probably, if I was straight commercial, that'd probably be my dream team right there.
Okay.
Everybody's got their own thoughts, but
Right.
I've had those Kiko cross does, and I'm gonna tell you what, they're fantastic mothers.
That's what I've read. They're
And
really good mothers.
they give really good milk,
Right.
and nothing grows any better than it does on mama's milk.
That's right. And so anyway, well, that's just a little sample, folks, I think, of what we'll be able to get at the Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous. And I'm not sure. I mean, I know some of the topics may be a little different at Ozark and at Urban Expo. But I know that's particularly Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous, that this subject of goats for profit, meat goats for profit. And so that's just a little tease, folks, of kind of what you can learn. I mean, I'm interested in it because I've been interested in goats. My wife, she doesn't share my enthusiasm for the goat, but I know what I've got to do on the space I have. So anyway, Dwayne, we appreciate the information, man. We appreciate the knowledge. It's been awesome. My hat size grew a little bit with the knowledge expanded tonight. So I always like, if I learn something, I feel like it's a good show. I don't care what else happened. If I learn something, because if I learn something, that means somebody out there probably learned something too. So,
well, I hope you guys do. That's what I want to do, is I want to share my experiences and what I have learned. And not to say that your experiences are all going to be the same as mine.
Right.
But I know what I have learned over a period of time.
Right.
And hopefully that'll help people. You still going to have to figure your own plan out. But, don't fall in the same pothole I did.
Yeah. There you go, Courtney. Expanded knowledge guaranteed. That's a fact. Right. Anyway. Dwayne, any parting comments or any final thoughts?
Well, guys, I'm going to come back here and say a little bit about y'all and what you're doing. You're putting people out there and in front of folks, people that are doers.
Right.
Not just talkers, but people that are doers. And you're bringing those folks there, and you're making people aware of those, that information that's out there. And I appreciate that, because that's what we need today. People are wanting to live a more sustainable lifestyle, and they need to find out how to do that. And I appreciate what you guys are doing with your YouTube channel and getting those and interviewing those people out there, and what you stand for. What you're doing. So hopefully, I'll have my Starlink here this next week, and
right.
We'll have to do it again.
And you guys can watch a lot of videos on what we do on our YouTube channel.
I have been out. There is one video.
I got one video up. It took forever to load, so that's one reason we're getting Starlink. But I've got quite a bit. You'll find things on bees, goats, herbal stuff, foraging, building things, repairing things on the farm. Our whole byline is homesteading on a budget.
Right. There you go.
And most of us that are homesteading on a budget.
That my entire existence is that exact right there, on a budget.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, bro, anything
No, just wanted to once again say thank you to Dwayne for being so gracious to share his knowledge with us.
And his time, definitely.
Not we don't only just learn, but I feel like in this community, really want to shout out to everybody that's been participating in the growth of this community, and how building this community is really important. And we actually believe that we're stronger together, and we actually believe that we are the solution to a lot of the problems that we see going on locally in our state, in the United States, and as a matter of fact, in the entire world. Right. And the homesteading community exhibits everything, I believe, that is the solution to those problems. And Dwayne, you are an exceptional illustrator of that very fact. And once again, like I said, we just want to thank you for showing up and sharing your information and the knowledge that you've got, because that's what's going to do it. That's what's going to pull this community together, and it's going to bring things a little bit back home. And as we, and as one of the things that we say is take another link out of the chain, that food supply chain, shorten it up a little, get to know your local farmers, and get some local information, because there's a wealth of knowledge and a lot of it that we almost lost. Okay. We've become dangerously close to losing it. Yeah. And though the things that's happened to us in the past, especially over the past since 2020, it, as bad as it was, it's got some silver linings in that cloud. And that silver lining is people have woken up a little bit. They're waking up, and they're realizing that we've got to source our food a little differently for our own health and also for our own security.
Well, Dwayne, again, thank you. Thanks to everybody that was in the chat. This has made a great show. We haven't pulled one like this one in a while, actually, but it's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it. Like I said, a lot of knowledge. And I tell you what, guys, great show. And I tell you, I'm just going to roll us right on out of here. So until next time, this is the Farm to Table Direct Show. Remember, we are #stronger together. It's only through the community. It's only through the strength of each other that we can overcome the things of this world. Be gracious to each other. Be kind. Be thankful for our Creator, God above. And as we always say, prepare for the unexpected and keep it local.
Hello folks, and thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure and hit the like button and leave us a comment below if you've got goats or you plan to have goats on your homestead. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscription button and ring the notification bell so you won't miss out on what goes on next here on the farm. Until next time, may the sun shine upon your face, the wind be to your back, and your footsteps be sure.